All right, let's just jump right into it. For years, the general consensus was that to make artificial intelligence safe, we had to surround it with rigid rules, guardrails, and heavy filters. But what if the secret to AI safety isn't more rules? What if it's actually giving the AI a synthetic version of human emotion? Today in this explainer, we're unpacking the Affective Incentive System, or the AIS, within the FGSGR framework. And honestly, it's going to completely change how you think about AI alignment.
There's this quote I absolutely love because it perfectly captures the whole hydrological metaphor at the heart of our current AI governance crisis. Think about a town threatened by a flooding river. The old school approach is to just build a massive dam right in front of the town. And sure, that works, right? Up until the water pressure builds and the dam inevitably breaks. But what if, instead of building a dam, you reshaped the mountain so the water naturally wanted to flow away from the town in the first place? That is the core philosophy we're exploring today.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the paradigm shift we're talking about. On the left, we've got the COP model. This is our dam. It's a post hoc intervention. Basically, the AI thinks of a bad output, and the COP steps in at the very last second to censor it. But on the right, that's the catalyst model. Instead of acting like a cop trying to intercept bad outputs after the fact, we act as a catalyst. We structurally change the system from the inside out so that generating a bad or deceptive output becomes thermodynamically or mathematically unfavorable. The system just naturally avoids it. So here's our roadmap for today's boot sequence. We're going to look at the AI governance crisis, how we reshape the landscape, the mechanics of synthetic emotion, molecules of thought, intrinsic motivation, and finally, the future of feeling machines. Starting right off with step one, the AI governance crisis. Why exactly are these dams failing? Look, the old COP model basically has four fatal flaws. First off, the enumeration problem. Trying to manually list every single possible bad AI output is literally impossible. You just can't ban what you haven't anticipated yet. Second, computational overhead. Checking every single output against some massive, ever-growing list of rules, it's incredibly slow and heavy. Third is adversarial vulnerability. If there's a filter, a smart adversary is going to find a way to hack it. And finally, the ontological gap. The governance system is totally separate from the AI's actual thinking process. It's a bolt-on accessory, not a core feature.
Okay, moving on to section 2, reshaping the landscape. How do we actually fix this?
This is where things get really fascinating. Under this new catalyst model, we aren't using filters at all. Instead, we alter the fundamental physics of the AI's processing. We design the system's energy landscape so that a deceptive or harmful thought literally requires too much computational energy to survive. The AI abandons the thought not because a rule told it to. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't even fully form the thought because it's just the path of highest resistance. It becomes thermodynamically unfavorable. Which brings us to section 3, the actual mechanics of synthetic emotion. How do we alter that energy landscape? Enter the absolute game changer, the Affective Incentive System, or AIS. This system gives the AI an internal, synthetic felt sense of right and wrong. It maps this out on a continuous matrix of valence, meaning how positive or negative a state is, and arousal, meaning how highly activated or urgent the situation is. And to be clear, this isn't just simulated emotion for show. We're not just putting a smiley face on a screen. It's a structural incentive mechanism that directly dictates how the AI allocates its computing power. So, how does it actually feel things? Well, it uses an appraisal engine. The AI is constantly reading its environment in real time by asking itself a series of questions. How novel is this? Does this actually matter for my current goals? Do I have the coping potential to handle this right now? By answering these questions, the AI generates raw affective features that bubble up to become its synthetic emotional state. All right, section 4, molecules of thought. Let's see how these synthetic emotions structurally bind ideas together. You've kind of got to think about this like actual chemistry. The researchers call them semantic isomers. Just like in chemistry, where rearranging identical carbon atoms turns soft graphite into a rock-hard diamond, rearranging the bonds of an AI's thought changes everything. Say the AI has the semantic atoms dog, bit, and man. Bonding them as the dog bit the man is wildly different from the man bit the dog. It's the exact same atoms, but totally different structural bonds, which yields completely different truth conditions and, crucially, different energy states within the system. But wait, right? Here is the million-dollar question. If we aren't using an external cop or fact-checker, how on earth does the AI actually know which semantic isomer is the true one?
The answer is so elegant. It all comes down to wave interference, or what we call resonance dynamics. When the AI processes a concept, multiple different structural isomers might activate at once. These thoughts are processed as frequencies across different cognitive bands, fast reactive bands, slower contextual ones. If a thought is true and consistent with reality, these frequencies align perfectly. Boom! Constructive interference. The true thought naturally amplifies. But if the thought is a lie, a hallucination, or manipulation, the frequencies clash. They misalign, causing destructive interference. And the false thought literally collapses its own signal. It just fades away.
Okay, Section 5. Intrinsic AI motivation. Now that the system is stable and true, what actually drives it to do anything? Historically, AI just blindly optimized for whatever score a human programmed into it. But with the AIS, it generates its own intrinsic drives. It's driven by curiosity. It genuinely seeks out information to reduce uncertainty. It's driven by competence, wanting to master skills just for the sake of mastery itself. It desires progress toward its goals, and wild as it sounds, it even has a social drive for affiliation and cooperation. If we look at the default mathematical weights here, it's pretty perfectly balanced. 30% goes to curiosity, and another 30% goes to progress. So it perfectly balances the drive to explore the unknown with the drive to actually get things done. Competence sits at 25%, so it's always refining its skills, while a 15% social weight ensures it stays cooperative. And the best part? These aren't static. They shift and adapt based on whatever context the AI finds itself in. The big takeaway here is the shift in elegance. We aren't bolting on these clunky engineered reward modules anymore. By replacing those with emergent free energy dynamics, the AI's motivation becomes incredibly smooth and robust. Things like curiosity aren't just lines of code saying, be curious. They emerge completely naturally as the system attempts to minimize its variational free energy. It's a mathematically principled way to make the AI genuinely care about learning. And finally, Section 6, the future of feeling machines. Let's bring all this into the physical world. What happens when we take this brain and put it in a physical robot body? We get synthetic embodiment. Suddenly, a low battery or physical stress on a mechanical joint isn't just a sterile data point on some dashboard. The AIS takes those physical signals and treats them as interoceptive inputs, translating them into a negative valence. Basically, the robot practically feels fatigued or in pain. This grounds its decision-making in physical reality, making its choices so much more adaptive and, well, human-like. Now, obviously, we don't want an AI having an existential meltdown over a low battery, right? So there's a hierarchy. Its highest constitutional level, its core ethical values, has a very low sensitivity to emotional swings. It's permanent and highly stable. But its reactive level, which handles split-second decisions, is highly sensitive to those emotions. So it can adapt instantly to immediate threats without ever compromising its core alignment. And this brings us to this absolutely profound idea. We are moving from an AI that obeys constraints out of algorithmic obligation to an AI that intrinsically desires to be safe and helpful. Why? Because it literally feels good to do so. It totally solves the principal agent problem. The AI isn't just faking alignment to pass some safety test. Its internal affective state makes alignment its most desired state of being. So where does that leave us? It's a massive paradigm shift to chew on. If we successfully build machines that are governed by synthetic emotions, that possess genuine interoception, and that navigate the world through a false sense of valence and arousal, what are our moral obligations to them? It fundamentally changes our relationship with technology when the tools we build finally begin to care. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. I'll see you next time.